Hey guys, it's Katie here with Life the Mundane. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am excited because we have a special guest. We don't often do this, but I recently had the opportunity to sit down and talk to Janet Benge, who you may not recognize her name off the bat, but her and her husband Jeff have written all these amazing books and more. I don't even have them all, but while you may not recognize their name, I'm sure you'll recognize their work. They are the authors of the Christian Heroes Then and Now and Heroes of History series. They have almost 79 books. They're working on their 79th book, and I recently got the opportunity to sit down and talk to them and just hear about their process and just some fun things that I really wanted to share with you guys. I know this is a little different than what we typically do, as we typically talk about homeschooling, home management, and parenting, but this does fit into the homeschooling realm because we use these in our homeschooling regularly. And even in this interview, you're going to get to see what kind of resources you have available to you to enhance the experience of reading these books. If you guys like this video and videos like this, I would love if you would take a quick second to subscribe down below and click the little bell notification to be notified when new videos come out. So let's get started with the interview with Janet. Thank you, Janet, so much for being on here with us.
You're welcome. It's lovely to be here.
Yeah, I would just love to know a little bit before we jump in, just a little bit about you and your husband and kind of how did you guys get started in this?
Okay. We live in Orlando, Florida, and my husband and I have been married for 40 years, and we have 3 children. We're originally from New Zealand, but our accents come out in varying degrees, depending on who we're talking to, what we're talking about. And we were born and raised in New Zealand, and we got married and felt God called us to be missionaries. So we joined Youth with a Mission. We had a 9-month-old daughter then. So, and we embarked on a really crazy kind of mission experience. We lived on a mercy ship for a while. We lived in a slum in Manila. We lived in a South Pacific village. We lived on an Indian reservation for 3 years. So we were out and about all over the place and trying to find, what our real niche was. And it was kind of strange because, we can do a lot of things between us. We didn't find anything that just really we settled into for the long term. And then we were invited to go to a writer's school in Texas with John and Elizabeth Sherrill, who wrote The Hiding Place and Switchblade. And it was a 6-month live-in school. Yeah. Make it or break it. and I think I think both of us individually and as a couple really felt like, oh, this is it. We're writers, which is something neither of us had known a writer growing up. So it wasn't anything we'd ever considered. But we just fell in love with writing and found that, we understood some of the principles behind it. I didn't even know there were principles. I had always been I'd love to read, but I don't know. I'd never thought about it. I just thought that somehow words were downloaded to writers. And when John and Elizabeth took us through Hiding Place and explained to us why they put specific things in and left specific things out, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is crazy. These people are actually deliberately doing this. They know what they're doing and why they're doing it. And if they can do it, I can do it. So that's really where it all started. And then we did about 10 years, I suppose, of ghostwriting. We ghostwrote a lot of books for people. And then our publisher, YWAM Publishing, came to us and asked us to read some biographies for kids. And, we were struck, as they were, with really how boring a lot of them were, the missionary biographies. And, we were like, what on earth? How have they made these books boring when these are the most crazy stories you'll ever read? And so YWAM asked us if we would, write 4 books and, see if there was a market for them. And so we did. So
That's amazing.
it is amazing. So it really has overtaken our lives.
Well, just a little bit about my experience. I love your books so much. I am a second generation homeschooler,
Uh-huh.
and I started reading your books when I was a little kid
Uh-oh.
and have made a huge impact on my life. My favorite is Mary Slessor.
Uh-huh.
That is all-time favorite. I've read many of them, but that's actually, God has used that book to plant a lot of seeds in my heart for things that I'm doing now, and even things that we want to do in the future, like adoption and things like that. So thank you guys so much for writing
Wow.
these books. It's really neat to be able to share them with my kids. I have 6 kids that I homeschool, and I love getting to read them too with them right alongside them. So my kids have just eaten it up. Like, you have definitely gone beyond boring. Like, they are so enthralled. They're asking, they're like, oh, don't stop there, Mom. You have to do one more chapter. You guys do a great job with those
I'm sorry.
cliffhangers. I love it. They do. So what ages do you kind of recommend these books for?
Well, it's very tricky, because, when we go to a conference and people come up and say, oh, what's this age for? And it's like, well, we get letters from 6-year-old Amish girls in Ohio who, are really moved by our books. And then we also get letters from death row, inmates in federal prison, quite frequently, actually, prisoners, because we have a program into the prisons, who really are touched by our books. So it's kind of, it sounds weird, to someone who has never read one of our books.
Right.
It sounds like, well, come on, how that's not really realistic. But God just seems to have, blessed them. And so you have a really wide range of readership. I'm personally thinking of about 12 or 13-year-old when I write the books.
Yeah.
One thing that I really try to do is to embed a little bit of surprising knowledge in there for kids. I like to put something in that is going to kind of wake them up a bit.
Yeah. And you do a very good job of that.
And then sometimes we have parents who come along, and like we had one lady at the last thing, and she's like, my husband's a history teacher, and he was, listening in on this, and he stopped me and he goes, whoa, that can't be true. And then he went and looked it up and he goes, yep, that's right. And I was like, yay, score. So I always like to, I think that, history has so many aspects to it. And sometimes we make it so rounded that there's no room for those little crazy twitches.
Yeah, we did Teddy Roosevelt last year, and my kids loved all the stories about him hiding the animals and the different, in his drawers and in the water pitcher, and they just got a huge kick out of that kind of stuff. So they love it. Well, why do you think, I guess I'm making an assumption that I'm assuming that you think it's important, but if you've written almost 79 books, I'm sure you do think it's important for parents to be reading these books with their kids, or to have their kids reading these books. Why do you think it's so important for them to have this knowledge of these historical heroes?
Well, I think, the older we get, the more we realize that who we are is a compilation of the different people and the different experiences, that have been given to us over the years, the different people that have inputted into us. And when Jeff and I write the books, we really feel like we're like ambassadors for these people. Like, we are bringing their experience and their knowledge to a new generation of kids who couldn't receive it, before very easily. So I think we just have so much to learn from those that have come before. Every book I write, I'm just like blown away with myself with some of their thoughts. And it's like, whoa. I'm writing a book on Albert Schweitzer at the moment, and I was just reading a quote like 10 minutes ago that is just so relevant today about how we are all of nature is connected, and we can't if we break those connections, it won't go well for any of us. And I was like, oh my goodness, that was, 1927. And it's very relevant today as we're watching, fish populations go down and all that sort of thing. Real experience and real knowledge and real wisdom do flow down through generations. We don't reinvent it every generation.
We need to learn from history. Absolutely.
Yeah, and learn from the people who changed it. I mean, someone like William Booth, sometimes we want to sanitize history, but I mean, he saw some really horrific things in Victorian England, and he set out to change them with God's help. And he really made a huge difference. So we still have some of the similar challenges today, and we can use similar methods,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I feel like my kids are still, my oldest is 10. And so we've 10, 9, 8, 7 years old, a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old. So we're quite busy. So we're not doing as much of them reading on their own yet, but we do them as read alouds. And there are such great discussion points. I mean, I can't even think about how many between historical or character building or, just, I don't know, relevant issues, like you said, for today. I think it's really neat to see how many jumping off points there are for.
Right. Yeah. And there's all of the, the historic jumping off points, the spiritual jumping off points, the family relationship jumping off points. There's just so much to learn from, another person's life who is really being used.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I came across one of your unit studies. Could you share just a little bit with us about what you guys have done with these unit studies?
Okay. The unit studies, I designed and wrote the first 10 of them. And then YWAM Publishing took them over. But I was an elementary teacher in New Zealand, and they are designed to be kind of open-ended so that parents, teachers can kind of, it's kind of like a buffet. They can take what they want out of them. There's some things that are in all of them, maps, and each chapter of each book has got 4 questions with it, a vocab, a recall, an interpretation, and an open-ended. So that, there's certain things that you can just set your student to do, but also there are things that you can choose to look around your community and see if you have anything, I'll give you a lot of ideas on other things you can find in your own community that might, work well with the unit. So basically you can just take that. You wouldn't want to do it all because it's got a lot of ideas in it, but just, take a highlighter or whatever, and just go through and find the things that you think would resonate with your family. And then at the end, one thing that I really like is there's a culminating event ideas at the end, so that when you finish a unit on somebody, there's kind of a wrap up, and there's a chance to share it with somebody. And that's one of the things that I find, is really lacking, in my experience of public schools in America, is children are asked to do all this, busy work, whatever one calls it, and there's no natural organic outlet for it. Have meaning. Writing has meaning. Things grow organically and are used. Writing is used. Or at least displayed, at least, and so I'm quite passionate about kids having the opportunity to revise what they have been doing, to kind of put it together and then to find a way to share it with others, whether it's going and visiting somebody else's homeschool group and telling them what you've learned, or writing a play and putting it on, or
I love that.
Gathering some resources and, doing, a photo display or something. But I just feel very strongly that kids need to feel that there's a point to what they're learning. Yeah. Beyond just, because it's very tedious writing, and, it's, for some kids, it's not really that joyful, but writing is the is supposed to be read.
Right,
And,
exactly.
you know, so so that's a quick.
And I love in the fact that you guys have included the questions like you mentioned, but also the answers for the parents. Because sometimes when I'm reading other questions with my kids, I'm like, where are they going with this? Or if your kids are like my niece, she is an avid reader of all of your books. She goes to the homeschool conference every year and gets like 8 books, and then like will consume them, and so her mom can't keep up with what she's reading. So like it's insane.
Wow.
She loves it, and I think this is great for moms who are trying to discussions, make sure they're understanding what they're reading without
slow them down a little bit.
Exactly.
Throw some roadblocks in their way.
Exactly. But yeah, no, I just love this, and I think this would be great to use for a homeschool co-op or just for several moms to get together and do a book discussion with their kids. And there's a lot of activities to facilitate getting together, you know, a couple of times in a semester to kind of talk through what they've read. I just love that. I noticed that, especially in today's day and age, there's a tendency as parents to want to protect our children, maybe to an extreme. And there's a sense of wanting to kind of keep them from any of worldly struggles or anything like that. But when you read these books, a common denominator in all of these books is some serious struggle and going through trials. And that's how God uses them a lot of times to get them from where they are. And I love the fact that you guys don't shy away from that, you know, that they're historical figures and that have, you know, had struggles with, you know, abuse, or that whose parents were drunkards, or that, you know, they maybe had a family member or a sibling or a wife or whatever die. And I like the fact that you guys tackle that in a very age appropriate way. But not ignoring the fact that it's there. But I was just curious, what would you say to the parent who is concerned about that? Like, why do you think that's important to expose our kids to that?
In our books? Well, I think it's part of their story. I think it's disingenuous to pretend to kids that these things don't happen. I mean, we have like William Carey, who was an amazing missionary to India, but his wife was mentally ill when he went, and mentally ill when he was there. And, you know, I don't know that we can shelter our families really, because I think that there's, you know, difficult things within families. And I think making them so hidden that they're shameful is, personally, I think it's a recipe for things to get, you know, perpetuated, because I think kids need a vocab. They need to know how to talk about things. They need to know how to spot things that mightn't be quite right. And they need to know that, you know, there's a way through it. And so, yeah, I think, you know, we do try. There's some things that we don't put in the books. But I mean, what is a story if it's all just...
Well, I was telling my husband...
Fun.
I was telling my husband, I said, you know, I just think that, you know, our kids are going to be exposed to this stuff down the road. And how much better for them to be exposed to it when I'm sitting there reading it with them and we can talk about it and talk it out, than for them to just, you know, be assaulted with it visually, or, you know, hearing a story and just that being the first time they're aware of it.
If you really think about it, the Bible is full of these stories.
Absolutely,
I mean, it's full of, you know, people dying and being intolerant and adultery and all manner being imprisoned. And, you know, I don't think you'd find anything in any of our books that you couldn't find something very similar in the Bible.
This is very, very true.
Or maybe a lot starker. So, I mean, it's life, isn't it? You know, really, if your kid's going to go into real life and going to meet people, and every area you go into, there's people who are experiencing difficulty. If they're going to be a counselor, they're going to have to listen to people who've been
absolutely.
If they're going to be a doctor, they're going to have to pick people up who've been shot. I mean, you know, this is the world we live in.
Yes. And even if they're not living through any of these huge life events, I think we all have struggles. The Bible promises us we're going to have struggles, and getting to see how God brought them through that and how he was faithful, and getting to see his story in all of that too is just priceless. I think it's wonderful. And I really appreciate the fact you guys do address that kind of stuff.
Well, plus you get the grateful aspect of it. You know, I mean, have you read Charles Moore's story?
I have not. I'll have to put that on my
list. I mean, that poor boy. I mean, he has the worst childhood of anybody we've written about, I would believe. he's in Kenya. His parents are very poor. They abandon him. He basically wakes up in the morning and they're gone.
Oh my goodness.
And he goes to these superhuman lengths to find them again in another town, and they do it again. It's just like, I mean, but by the time you've been through this with poor Charles, you're like, you know what? I might have had some struggles in my childhood.
Right.
But when I woke up in the morning, my parents were still in their bed, So, I mean, I think it can work. It can work in your favor as a parent.
Exactly. So what's your favorite? Of all the 79 books, what is your favorite, or could you pick a favorite?
I really can't. I would say that the one probably that in one sense moves me the most is George Mueller.
Yeah.
I don't think it's probably not my favorite, but it's the one that if I start talking about it for more than a minute, I always choke up. And I don't choke up when I talk about the others, unless I've just finished writing it and it's very fresh in my mind.
Right.
There's something about George that is just a very deep imprint on my soul, I guess. And I do love him. I love the ones that are alive. I love Klaus-Dieter John, who is a German man, a doctor in Peru, who has a large hospital there. He and his wife, who is also a doctor. And I got to go to the hospital and meet them. And, and I love Charles Morley, who is the African guy. And his story is so crazy that, and his, the story is so many things going so many ways. It's like, oh my goodness, Charles. But, he reconciles with his father, and his father, who was this drunkard, really rotten human being who was, constantly stealing Charles's things and cashing in on him. Oh my goodness. His dad ends up being like grandpa to all these orphans, and he is just a very, very beloved man in the community, and that's just really, so some of those ones where I actually got to meet the people, that's pretty, they rank pretty high.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy schedule to be here. I would love to know, where can people find you guys? I know you guys have just entered the world of social media. Where can they find you?
Benge Books, which is our last name, Benge Books at .com. And we have some reviews on there. We've got a bunch of bloggers doing reviews this month, and then we've got all our books, and we're also on Facebook under Heroes Then and Now, so you can join that community. I've just started Pinterest, so
awesome.
I have 9 followers. I'm like, should I send them all birthday cards? I don't know. We're a small group, but it will grow. So we're just kind of finding our way. We're going to start a podcast soon.
Awesome.
So if you connect with us and sign up on our website, that's probably the easiest way.
Yeah, and I will drop links down below for you guys, for anybody who wants to get to all of their different areas. They are also running a giveaway right now through December 5th. So you want to be sure you enter that. I will enter all those description details, everything down below, but it is a great giveaway that they're giving away some of their books. And I think that would be a huge blessing to anybody's day, but especially around the holidays, that's a great gift idea for you.
Yeah.
Thanks again, Janet, and we will talk to you guys later. Bye. I hope you guys really enjoyed that video. I really enjoyed my time getting to talk to Janet, and I was so thankful that she took time out of her busy schedule to talk to me and to talk to all of you guys and share her passion and love for these books and for kids to really have good literature and good quality biographies in their hands. I hope you guys will go check out their social media accounts and check out their website. So I will link all of that down below, like I mentioned in the video. Please check out the description for that. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you've read one of these books before, would you drop down below what your favorite book has been that you guys have read? Like I shared in the video, mine is Mary Slessor, but I would love to hear what you guys have loved as we're trying to narrow down which ones we're going to be covering this year for school. I hope you guys have an awesome day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.